friend, and welcome to the very first episode of Structured Creativity. I'm your host, Najmah Salam, but you can call me Naj. This show is all about that gray area, the overlap between process and play. So I'll be talking to various figures who have to strike that balance every day. People who have to nurture the passions and whims of creativity and rate it in to produce tangible and immersive experiences. Games. Our first guest is Jason Ty Kennedy, Senior Learning and Communications Manager at Electronic Arts, or EA. In this episode, we talked about resilience, open-mindedness as underrated skills. We also talked about his adrenaline-junkie traits, as well as a very ominous theme park idea he has cooking. So, if that sounds good to you, then join me for an episode of Structured Creativity. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hello. I am wonderful. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to our discussion.
Yes. And I just want to highlight here that you are the first guest on Structured Creativity. How do you feel? Are you intimidated?
Well, given our relationship and that sort of thing and the discussions we've had over, what was it, coming up to a year or two probably now?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel honored to be your first guest.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, this is a unique experience. So I'm really happy to be here today. And it's all because of you, Naj.
Oh gosh, what a wonderful energies to start with. Okay, it's going great so far. Amazing. Well, first of all, I'd love to ask you a couple of questions about your history. Did you always want to be what you're doing right now? And you can talk a little bit about what you're doing right now while we're there.
Sure, my journey towards that. So I am a senior learning and communications manager with Electronic Arts. I have been with EA now for 7 years. Actually, this July, I just celebrated 7 years.
Oh,
I like the number 7,
amazing.
so that was a big deal for me. 6 years, I was like, oh, that's cool. 8 will be fine.
Yeah.
But 7's, that's my number.
7
so
is where it's
I feel
at.
good about it. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been 7 years with Electronic Arts. It's been a lot of fun. I have been in the same role, in the same domain, on the same team for those 7 years. So that kind of speaks to the fun I've had in that role. In my career, I have a learning and development. The majority of my career has been in the learning and development practice. I have, for the most of my career, worked embedded with the business. So normally with HR organizations, and that the learning and development team is part of the HR organization, and that's led centrally across the enterprise. Through my career, I've really enjoyed working directly with business units. So I've always been a learning and development professional embedded in the business. I do have conduits to the HR learning and development teams and that sort of thing. But throughout my career, I've really enjoyed kind of that relationship with the partners that I support. So I started early in my career just as a instructional designer, a facilitator. I joined to teach supply chain processes as they were going through transformation to warehousing staff and that sort of thing. So I was teaching people how to requisition in software, SAP, for supply chain. And then I started actually developing the courses as an instructional designer, and then worked my way into project management and then into program management and working with change practitioners and that sort of thing, always in the learning and development field and always expanding on that learning and development practice. Now I see myself more as a learning and development strategist, working with leaders and influencing decisions on the right kind of learning approaches and that sort of thing. And I also dabble quite a bit in communications as well, given my team and where I support. We're a learning and communications team. So that's a bit about me.
And was that something that you thought you would be doing, as, coming up through school? And, the joke I always make, because I was a marketer, it's not something that I grew up wanting to do. I was always like, I want to be an archaeologist.
Did you?
Like what did you want to be? Yeah,
that's
for
so
sure.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you want to be when you were younger?
Well, I'm 41 years old, and I still haven't figured out what I want to do when I grow up. So I think I'm still on that journey. Hence probably why I'm working at a place like Electronic Arts. I'm having a lot of fun in my career. I'm having a lot of fun in my life. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do when I actually grow up. So yeah,
Okay.
still kind of in that phase, but I really enjoyed
Yeah.
the learning and development space. That's why I've
Mm-hmm.
chosen to be in it now, probably
Mm-hmm.
going on around 15 years of my career.
Yeah.
But early days when I was starting out, I went to college and was in
Mm-hmm.
multimedia production. So I did 2 years of that
Oh.
and graduated with a diploma of multimedia production. And I was going to university for a bit, but couldn't necessarily afford it. And
Mm-hmm.
the multimedia thing sounded a lot of fun. So I went and pursued that. And after college, I did a bit of HTML development, built websites,
Oh.
tried my hand at entrepreneurship. And this was, uh, mid 2000s. So that was around the
Wow.
advent of those sites you could go to with templates and build your own
Yeah.
website,
Yeah.
GoDaddy and the like. And
Of
the big
course.
challenge I had with that was people were asking me, well, why should I hire you as a consultant to build a website for X amount when I could just go online and, well.
Right.
So I was up
Yeah.
against some transformational changes myself in that realm, and I
Yeah.
ended up traveling for a couple of years. And
Mm-hmm.
while I was traveling, I became a scuba dive instructor over in Southeast Asia, and that was my connection
Right.
with learning. So through those experiences, I thought, wow, like I really enjoy connecting with people. I really enjoy teaching them. I really enjoy understanding their culture and what they enjoy in life. And how can I
Yeah.
take that back into like a business context? So when I came
Yeah.
back from those travels, my focus was, hey, can I be some type of training facilitator? I really enjoy that aspect. And I went and took some courses and ended up lucky enough
Gosh.
working in the supply chain organization and teaching people around SAP and all that. And that was my journey, just through life. And it
Wow.
took 15 years pursuing that in my career to kind of establish the skills I have today. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love that L&D space. I've had opportunities to jump elsewhere, and I've chosen to remain in this domain. So
Yeah. I mean, wow. Multimedia production to scuba diving to supply chain to
oh, there's more.
EA. It's quite a
I'm
journey.
odd job Jack. Like I've done so many different career paths in my time, and I don't feel that my
Yeah.
journey is over either. So
Yeah.
there's lots of little hobbies and pursuits I have on the side that I really enjoy. I could get into it more as we go along, but yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that segues beautifully into my next segment of questions, which is around creativity. So this podcast is very much around that process between the space between process and play. Because I think when people think about creativity, it's chaotic. It has to be reined in somehow. But then for things to happen, there has to be process. There has to be some discipline. And so I love talking to planners, project managers, leaders, people like you about how they approach creativity. So, Jason, how do you nurture your creativity?
Well, one thing I wanted to say before I got started was just
Yeah,
coming up to speed with you on this podcast and what you were hoping to achieve with it, and
yeah,
that cross between creativity and a bit of chaos, and exploring one's ideas and that, and also structured process and how things go along a timeline to become accomplished was a perfect
yeah,
conversation to have with individuals, because it is very much like that at Electronic Arts, where they need to
hmm,
nurture creativity but also follow timelines. At the end of the day,
yeah,
it is an enterprise, and it
yeah,
is operating within the realms of a corporation, so it has to
yeah,
function to some degree from that perspective, but also give way to creativity for us to be
hmm,
able to create the amazing games that are created at Electronic Arts. So perfect
hmm.
topic and conversation point. And I think about this a lot in my own career. And one thing I'll caveat to in this conversation is, although I work for Electronic Arts, all of these opinions are
Yeah.
my own. So I'm
Okay.
speaking on
Yes.
behalf of myself, if Big Brother is listening. But yeah, one's creativity and nurturing that is something that's a very important value in the place that
Mhm,
I work, but also for myself. So
mhm,
what I mean by that is, in the work that I do, there is common practices within the learning and development domain and space that lead to
Mm-hmm.
best results.
Yeah.
And that is something that's evolving as well. Like the L&D space, I feel today is in quite a transformational change state, and
Mm-hmm.
it always has been. It has to align with business at any given time, and there's been a lot of things that have changed. I mean, just think of pre-internet, post-internet, and how
Mm-hmm.
learning and development would have occurred in the business space and how it occurs today is a
Yeah.
massive change. If you think of like micro learnings and how we used to train people in a classroom with like 50 people at a keyboard and doing
Oh,
exercises and
sure.
that, and just the
Yeah.
transformation into something like that, like post pre-internet or pre-post internet, and now where we are today, and the
Mm-hmm.
attention span of not just the public with like TikTok and things like that, but in
Mm-hmm.
business and how fast things are changing and how quickly
Mm-hmm.
technology is adopted. And you could spend six
Yeah.
months building a course, but it becomes
Yeah.
irrelevant within the time of development before it's released because change is occurring so quickly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of process needed to really support those kinds of realms and how L&D is practiced. But
Yeah.
I think for myself, the way that creativity comes into that is I associate creativity with challenging one's self. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
although I have 15 years experience in L&D, I am constantly looking for opportunities to push how we're approaching something or what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
or the things that I just enjoy in my life. I always
Mm-hmm.
try to constantly challenge myself because I'm someone in the L&D space. I'm actually addicted to learning. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy growing. So
Yeah.
learning really forces you to challenge yourself, go into a mind space that you haven't been in before, take
Mm-hmm.
on new projects and new opportunities that you don't necessarily feel comfortable because you haven't done it before. That's
Yeah.
how you apply the things that you learn into developing a new skill, is to challenge
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So for me, I think that connection with creativity and challenging and going forward and trying new things is hand in hand, and that's how I
Mm-hmm.
always try to approach my work. Like for example, today having this discussion
Mm-hmm.
with you, challenging
Yeah.
oneself to go and explore different ideas with different individuals with different opinions, and have
Mm-hmm.
conversations to either validate something that you're thinking or to explore
Mm-hmm.
an idea that you're not sure may resonate with an audience type of thing. So it's through those types of things I like to always be continuously doing.
Yes, it sounds like, when you are most creative, it sounds like when you're really, at that point where you're pushing yourself and you're challenging yourself. Like, what does that look like for you in that case?
Well, this is something that I really enjoy. Obviously,
Yeah.
talking a lot about it, and
Yeah.
one thing that's really fun in my work at Electronic Arts is we have a mentorship program. So we have mentors
Mm-hmm.
and mentees that come about on a yearly cycle. I think it's actually
Right.
more than a year; it could be twice a year. So you really have a good opportunity to connect with a lot of different individuals at Electronic Arts through this mentorship program, and
Mm-hmm.
I really align with the idea that mentoring is just as beneficial for the mentor as it is for the mentee.
Oh,
A
right.
lot
Yeah.
of people think immediately to, oh, this is a value for the mentee. They're getting advice and experience and that sort of thing. Stories are being shared with those individuals, and it's they who benefit the most from those relationships. And while
Mm-hmm.
that's true, I do agree with there's a lot of value for the mentee. The mentors
Mm-hmm.
involved, I think, benefit just as much. Having been a mentor for much of the time that I've been at Electronic Arts, I have learned so much about how different people, different generations, different individuals coming into the workforce, that sort of thing, are thinking, and the
Mm-hmm.
skills that they come to bear and the things that they're learning in university that I never learned while I was there because things are always changing. You're being
Yeah.
exposed to those ideas and concepts. You're understanding how individuals are thinking as they're coming into the workforce. You're getting the opportunity to really kind of challenge the advice that you're giving and seeing how it resonates with them. And you're learning on how what you might have thought in concept 15 years
Mm-hmm.
ago can now be applied in today's workforce and that. So I
Yeah.
learn continuously by talking to individuals. And when it comes around like the idea of challenging oneself and creativity and that sort of thing, one of the things that I often fall into in conversation with individuals is around the importance of always learning and continuous
Hmm.
learning, and how challenging
Yeah.
oneself can help set the tone for that. And the concept that we get into discussing quite a bit is you always want to be on the edge of discomfort and challenging yourself and learning and
Mm.
growing. And you think of it as a spectrum. On the edge of that, you have maximum opportunity for going forward in a safe way and challenging yourself just a little bit. But if you go too far down that spectrum, you end up in a
Mhm.
realm where you've taken on too much of a challenge and you're
Sure.
outside of the realm of even understanding what has gone off the rails, and you might be too far into that failure spectrum. So don't chew off more than what seems appropriate, but we often
Hmm.
discuss the opportunities to continuously challenge within a realm of spectrum that allows you to fail safely and learn from mistakes in that. So it's those types of concepts that have really been solidified given
Hmm.
being a mentor for such a period of time, working with a bunch of mentees, exploring those ideas in a way that where you see it resonate over 20, 30, 40 different relationships. So
Yeah.
that's where I've kind of grounded my understanding in that and my opinions around it. So
Yeah. I think yeah, being around really different individuals and people with different perspectives is so key for nurturing creativity for sure, because everyone is the protagonist in their own story, right? And then so I think it's so healthy to get out of that bubble and really speak to people and really absorb everything other people have to say as well. Actually recently found this going to develop, which is a game dev conference over here in the UK, and just being around all these different people at different stages in their career, it was immensely, mind expanding. So I can totally see where you're coming from there.
yeah, and what I enjoy about the games industry is that someone explained this to me early on while I was at Electronic Arts, and I was trying to get a good foothold in how games are developed, and was asking, okay, well, what is involved in the process at this
Hmm.
stage? Early on when it's concept down to finalization and quality verification and all that. And I was
Yeah.
frustrated at the time because I couldn't understand the full breadth of everything that's done across the game development
Right.
process. And this individual
Yeah.
explained to me at the time, because of all of the technology and process and everything that goes into how a game is produced, every little bit of it,
Hmm.
you could go to school for the rest of your life and practice each
Hmm.
discipline, and you still won't
Yeah.
be in a position to understand how everything works. There is so much
Right.
complexity and so many different skills that go into it. It's
Hmm.
so massive. It's
Yeah.
becoming a doctorate just in, you know, the rendering or how physics engines are done. Like you could go and be an expert in one
Absolutely.
area, and another area is going to
Yeah.
change, a new technology is going to come in, new specialist field is going to be required to understand another domain or that. So you're just
Oh my
never going to be
gosh.
able to
Yeah.
explore it. So in the games
Yeah.
space, to your point, is
Hmm.
that is the celebration of being amongst all those different skill sets and expertise and ideas and thoughts and how people remain creative. I think it is such a exciting and awesome domain to operate in. So I
Yeah.
resonate with that so much because it's been such a blessing working at Electronic Arts and being around minds of different specialist skill sets and all that sort of thing. So
Hmm.
I've kind of lost the desire to try to understand how everything works and gain the
Yeah.
opportunity of just having discussions with people and seeing what they're excited about and seeing what works with them well and what they're looking forward to
Yeah.
in the advent of AI and things like that. It's really exciting just to be around all of that.
Totally. Yeah, I think one thing that keeps coming up for me recently as a creative is focus, because you're totally right, especially in game dev, it's so broad. Like it's just really mind-boggling how much goes into it. Game dev is hard. You heard it here. You heard it
Mm.
here first. What a hot take. But yeah, I think for me, it's really become so valuable to think about. Okay, what are my focuses actually? Instead of trying to do everything, what are the things that really nourish me, and what are the things that I really want to, nurture? So, yeah, that's such a valuable piece to think about. Like, stop trying to understand
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that's it was a turning point for me,
Hmm.
understanding or thinking of it in that way, because it
Hmm.
not only with work and trying to understand how games are done, it's also the world we operate in today. There's so much
Yeah.
complexity and there's so
Oh
much
my God.
technology, and it's none of it simple. It's all very complicated.
No.
I was surprised that when I came into games and I thought that, oh, you create games using a user interface just like you would with Windows, and I was shocked at how thin that veil is between user interfaces and actual like really difficult math, and all of
Yes.
the mathematical understanding and knowledge that has to go into just the physics of a game, not even to think of like lighting, rendering, audio, all the things.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
veil of like, for
Oh,
me,
whatever Neo's seeing in the Matrix,
exactly.
it's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
your Windows user interface is as deep as like anything is ever going to get, and that thin veil in game development is, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a UI. Nope, everything else is now math. So you have to understand that. Wow, wow. It's
Well,
an appreciation for complexity for sure.
yeah, totally. Well, which brings me to process, right? Because process is very much about trying to make sense of all of that complexity, how to keep people on track, how to keep our focus, as we've just been speaking about. Well, first of all, I love talking about tools and tactics. So, what are your favorite tools when it comes to what you do every day?
Favorite tools? Yes. So I am lucky to work at a company that has access to so many tools.
Yeah, I mean it's fantastic. Well, working as a designer, it actually wasn't that long ago where the way that I would get feedback on a design is that I would have whatever version, send it to someone, they'd send me back some comments through email. But now using something like Miro, can put something up on a board and we can comment all over it asynchronously. So yeah, it really is just a reality of the today's um, work environment that we do get to work with collaborative tools like that. But it's actually such a game changer, actually thinking about it. So yeah, I mean, totally. And also the data driven aspect. I mean, this is what I love as well. You're talking about creativity. You're not really going to expect to talk about data, but I love data and I really want to talk about it all the time. But truly, it really is one of those things where actually, if you can get comfortable with understanding data and presenting it, it just really brings up your profile in such an important way in your career.
Hmm.
So yeah, 100%. Collaboration and data. Um, well, talking about skills then, because we can't let you go as a learning and communications guy without talking about skills. What do you think are the most underrated skills?
The most underrated skills. And I,
Yeah.
I do recognize that, especially in game development, I operate in a
Mm-hmm.
domain where I do not have a lot of skills when it comes fruit to bear around the game development area. So I know that in my realm that I work in,
Mm-hmm.
there's artists and software engineers and more data professionals and artificial intelligence professionals that are coming in. And the cool
Mm-hmm.
thing, like I said, about working at Electronic Arts is being around so many talented individuals. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a lot of those skills when it comes to coming into a technology domain and that sort of thing. But I come with the learning and
Mm-hmm.
development background, 15 years of
Yeah.
experience in that domain. So my skill set is different.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've really paid attention to being at a place like Electronic Arts and being around so many creative individuals and watching them move through their careers and supporting them from the L&D perspective is, when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about underrated skills, it's something that's common across any domain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I talked about in in our earlier part of the conversation around, challenging oneself
Mm-hmm.
and pushing towards that in a creative sense. And some of the things
Mm-hmm.
that have really stood out to me in my career is that power of creativity coming from challenging oneself, other ideas too around, always being a positive individual, being open-minded, the desire to
Mm-hmm.
learn and challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and resiliency. So it's some of those
Oh yeah.
personal traits that start to come into it. And what I mean by that is I have now that I'm 41 years old and I start to age, the concepts and the things in my mind start to become
Yeah.
solidified for better or worse.
Sure.
So you
Yeah.
start to, I think of the word concrete. Some of the experiences in your life teach you so much that, you start to form opinions. But I
Mm-hmm.
constantly challenge myself to remain open minded and always explore new ideas. And this is why mentorship has been such a fun journey for me, because I might have
Mm-hmm.
held an opinion about something for a long period
Mm-hmm.
of time, but a young
Yeah.
mind has changed my perspective on that. And they've shown me through
Mm-hmm.
experiences or the things that they're learning how I might be able to challenge some of the concepts that I felt maybe really married to. So I'm constantly
Mm-hmm.
having conversations from that perspective and trying to remain open minded as I age and my brain becomes a little bit more concrete around opinions and that. And
Yeah.
how that's been really, really an important thing in my life is that, that positivity mindset and being open minded has challenged me
Mm-hmm.
to really try to remain optimistic. If things don't go a certain way, instead of getting frustrated, I try to lean
Mm-hmm.
into being more open minded and understanding why it might not have worked a certain way, and
Yeah.
being positive about that, and trying to challenge myself into, okay, that wasn't necessarily something that was a negative output. It
Mm-hmm.
failed, but it can teach me something. So positively, I
Yeah.
have to think about what that could lead to if I now lean into that failure and not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
just get upset at the fact it didn't work, and try to
Mm-hmm.
understand, okay, what is it teaching me? How can I change my approach next time? And what can I do going forward in a positive mindset? And going
Mm-hmm.
in approaching things in that way then builds that resiliency, and helps
Yeah.
you be more open minded to the fact that, hey, not everything's going to work, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
today's realm, with things changing so fast, there is a lot of opportunities throughout your day for you to have multiple failure points and to learn things from how you approach something and it not working. So if you're not a resilient individual as well, you could
Mm-hmm.
start to fall into a less than positive mind space, and start to look
Mm-hmm.
at those failures as negative events, and that. So I
Yeah.
think that creativity is fed
Mm-hmm.
by challenging yourself and having a positive
Mm-hmm.
outlook, leads then to learning from your failures and you
Yeah.
building a bit of resiliency. And it's all of those things that I think are underrated skills. People come
Mm-hmm.
into a technology domain, and maybe they have a specialty of skill set. And if they're so single-mindedly focused on success of that one thing, they're
Mm-hmm.
closing themselves to the opportunities to learn from that and to grow and to become resilient. All those things that you kind of learn as you move through your career, and you start to learn from others, that are important factors as well in this kind of field. And with things changing so quickly, it's something that you have to become skilled at. So it's those are the underrated things I think of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, yeah, that open-mindedness to change is 100% something that I think needs to be part of any game dev's mindset, because you're right, things are changing all the time. It seems like, every day there's something new that crops up, especially with things like whenever there's a new engine, whenever there's a new software, just a whole new suite of skills that people have to learn to accommodate for these things, and stay on top of the game, and stay relevant in whatever discipline they're in. And a lot of that comes down to failing in small ways and spectacular ways. But yeah, I think remaining positive and optimistic is a huge part of that as well, because I've been lucky that all, like, most of the game devs I meet are truly that kind of people. They're really positive, they're really open to sharing. I think it's such a wonderful space to be in. So yeah, totally underrated skills. And if you already do have those skills, you should shout about them to anybody who's watching as well. These are I think, really valued skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you hit the nail on the head with, the change and the fact that being in this space and being around
Yeah.
individuals that kind of understand, we'll call it the scientific approach, is you'll
Mm-hmm.
have, a hypothesis. I can't speak this morning, sorry. And the scientific approach is testing said
Yeah.
hypothesis, and it's a
Yeah.
hypothesis, it's not an opinion. You can't be too married to it,
Yeah.
because you're going to learn through failure if that hypothesis is accurate or not. And
Yeah.
this I think it's it's just a human psychology thing that failure feels scary, and it's kind of baked into our psyche that failure is wrong and it shouldn't happen. But if you
Yeah. Yeah.
approach it
Yeah.
from a different space of failure is exciting and it's a
Mm-hmm.
positive outcome because it will teach you something, if you're able to take the
Yeah.
teachings from failure, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
grow. So that scientific approach of, I have a hypothesis, I'm not married
Yeah.
to it, I'm going to
Yeah.
test it, and I'm going to celebrate when that fails because it's going to teach me something of how I'm going to approach it differently in the future. And
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's involved quite a bit, not myself, but I was speaking with others that involved quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
with innovation and research.
Mm-hmm.
They celebrate the failures, and it's like they almost don't want the ideas or the hypothesis to actually see the light of day, because they want to kill an idea and learn from the failures. They celebrate the failures so much more than the actual positive outcome,
Wow.
that when ideas
Yeah.
fail but don't die, and the hypothesis isn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily dead, it's just that failure taught you something and you make a small adjustment and then it continues forward. They actually get a
Yeah.
bit frustrated when an idea goes so far as to actually maybe then become a product or become something that's successful, because they've been trying to kill it for so long, and they've been learning so
That's
much from
so
the
funny.
failure that this thing just won't
Okay.
die, and they don't understand why. They're like, okay, we keep trying to push it to failure, but it keeps going forward. But those are the innovations, and those are the things that then become
Yeah.
products or become features in games or become some technology that everyone uses, because, well,
Wow.
it was a good idea and it was something that
Yeah.
actually we should be pursuing. But through the process, they're getting frustrated because it continues on. So it's a lot different
That's
than
hilarious.
what most people would think of when they think of something
Yeah.
failing, or
Yeah.
something not going right. It's
Yeah.
those kinds of approaches. So if we can align ourselves more with those kind of ways
Mm.
of working, I think it's not an underrated skill. It's something we should approach, and it's a lot of fun to explore.
That's wonderful. I love that. Just really turning the idea of failure on its head, and that, damn it, this idea is
Yeah,
succeeding
what's
too
going on?
much.
What's wrong?
What's going on?
Yeah,
What happened? I've been trying to kill this thing forever.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that's great. What a great place to be in. So, we've talked about creativity, we've talked about structure. Let's explore the Venn diagram, that space in between.
Hmm.
So, I'd love to ask you, you're in a unique place where you're actually empowering others to do their best work. Can you talk about what that looks like? What are the things you do to, nurture other people's creativity?
Yeah, for sure. And this is something that I like. I'm so blessed. I feel to be like, I've been on the same team in the same role for the same company for the last 7 years, because I've been on such an
Mhm,
exciting journey through that
mhm,
process, and I feel very honored to be in the role that I'm in and work with the individuals that I work with on a daily basis. So this is a lot of fun for me. And
mhm,
one of the things when we talk about empowering others, to do their best work, it's not Jason. it's
mhm.
it's hopefully the work that I do and the things that I contribute to that provide an environment and an opportunity for
Mhm.
others in their careers to be successful
Yeah.
and to be creative and to challenge themselves. So a lot
Mhm,
of that has really been around connecting with them. You know,
mhm,
in anyone's job, when you go to work, you have leaders making decisions and the business doing
mhm,
business things, and then you have a lot of people working in that organization. And it's not just games, it's any company out there. When you go to work, there's the
mhm,
business and there's the people.
mhm,
So with that, in the learning and development space, and especially at a company that goes through as much change as something like Electronic Arts and game development, is there's a lot of skill development that needs to occur in that
mhm,
that domain, but there's also a lot of strategic decision making that needs to occur. So So my job really is to empower both of those domains to work well together. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that has been fostering communities and connecting with employees, but also connecting with leadership and understanding business
Mm,
strategy and priorities. So I
totally.
find
Yeah.
myself kind of in the cross of those realms. And what's really worked well from a learning strategy perspective is how we connect with both the people and the business and do
Mm,
work on a daily basis.
yeah.
So over the years, I've worked to develop a learning strategy that delivers results, in service of both the people and the business. And what's been
Mm-hmm.
really kind of the success factors in that is um, connecting well and understanding
Mm,
business priorities, business goals. So every year we go
mm,
through our fiscal goal setting practice, and
mm-hmm.
the business sets out their strategy for, say, the
Mm-hmm.
next year or the next 3 or 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
we, as the learning and communications team as well, align with that quite
Mm-hmm.
closely. That's
Mm-hmm.
normal. Most people
Mm-hmm.
understand that. Most enterprises doing that, but it's also connecting really closely with employees and understanding from their perspectives what their strategies are and what they're focused on from a skills development perspective. And what's worked well
Mm-hmm.
in the domain I operate in is learning surveys. So that is part
Mm,
of our overall learning strategy, is not just to understand the business priorities, but to understand individual priorities and skill development. What individuals, given their expertise in their domains, what they'll be
mm-hmm.
focused on, say in the next year, the next year and a half or 2 years. So we do
Yeah.
learning surveys as inputs to understand what the learning desires of employees are, and then that
Sure.
comes in through a funnel, and we put that up against business priorities and objectives, and we go from a skill development perspective, here's what
Mm-hmm.
employee desires are, and here's
Mm-hmm.
business desires. And one would think they might actually be a bit off.
Mm-hmm.
Employees might want to develop themselves in the career, or advance themselves in data analysts or software engineering, or whatever. And the
Yeah.
business priorities may be misaligned with that, but you actually be
Mm-hmm.
surprised at how well they marry together. And
Oh,
through
okay.
this process, it's quite enlightening to go through it and understand, from a business priority perspective, we need to push X, Y, or Z technologies or X, Y, and Z process into our business, and
Right.
get that to spread through the business so that we can achieve a goal. And as you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at those types of areas, you'll find that the skills that individuals want to develop are often quite aligned with, say, the new technologies or new process that people want to bring in. And what you start to get
Yeah.
really good clarity on is an understanding of what it takes to deliver business
Mm-hmm.
goals,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what specifically people want to learn from a skill development perspective. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the unique place that I operate in from a
That's very
learning
cool.
perspective, understanding individuals' desires and business desires and how those two worlds kind of come together. So it's through that kind of community of being able to connect with teams and decision makers and that sort of thing
Yeah.
to do that work. So that's fun.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that word connection, I think, is such an important part of creativity as well, because people like you who have had such a varied background, you know, and and then coming into this space and then speaking to loads of different people. Essentially, what I think creativity is connecting disparate points and then making sense of it. And it sounds like that's exactly what you do as a day job, which is incredible.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, some people might be watching and they might think, well, I'm just in an indie studio and we're just tiny and we couldn't possibly do that. But I think that's no, this is something that every collective, every even individual should think a lot about, because thinking about what are your goals and then what are your desires and how those two connect is a really important piece actually for anyone to practice, not just big companies like EA. I think because in the business of games, it still is a business, and I think that's something really important as well. Make what you want, but also appreciate that you still have to create a fully fleshed product, and it exists in a market context as well. So yeah, I think that connection piece is really key as well. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel all these things fall very closely together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Setting
Mm-hmm.
goals
Mm-hmm.
is all around challenging yourself, and
Yeah.
challenging yourself forces you to be creative. And
Yeah.
creativity is the tool that's needed, especially in the gaming space, to be able to deliver new experiences to players and to keep things
Mm-hmm.
changing all the time and keep things exciting. Is that
Yeah.
constant creative growth and movement towards something new. So all these things fall very closely together. From a strategic
Yeah.
standpoint, if you think of any enterprise's strategy on being profitable in the gaming realm, you have to keep
Yeah.
pushing the needle on technology and creativity and all of that. So it's, individuals in the organization needs to constantly be challenging themselves, setting goals,
Mm.
and measuring that. So it's all very important. It feels kind of very businessy and dry and that sort of thing as we go through the cycle
Mm-hmm.
every year of like goal setting and that, but it
Mm-hmm.
is also very important in the creative process.
Oh, 100%. I think it's certainly something creatives could afford to do more, really having a sit down and think about what they do want to achieve and how they get there. And it's really just like, placing yourself on a map, right? And then where are you now? What do you want to be and how do you get there? Really, I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. But yeah, I think for sure that goal setting is so vital. So yeah, I think another thing that I will say is that you said you weren't mathematically inclined, but you just did the math. You just put two and two together.
No equations
We cracked
involved though,
it.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we
yeah.
cracked it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember going through my math in high school and
Yeah.
not being any good at it, and I should have challenged oneself to go forward and fail and learn. But
Yeah.
yeah, being in the learning and communications realm, I was like, "There's no math here," so I feel a little bit more safe.
Great. I think being a teen is challenging enough. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, for what I remember anyway. But yeah, I so let's talk about some fun stuff. We've talked a lot about structure and creativity and everything in between. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely.
So let's obviously this is going to be a fairly obvious question, but I just had to ask you, what's your favorite game?
Yeah, and I thought about this before, and one of the favorite games that I've had recently is anything horror related or action related. So
Oh, right.
yeah,
Okay.
so I'm a big car guy as well too. I grew up around motorcycles and boats and cars and that, and I enjoy modifying cars and tuning them and all that sort of thing. So
Wowzers.
I got a little Volkswagen GTI that puts out 300 horsepower, and I'm thinking about the next mod that I can do to it and mess around and have fun and that sort of thing. So always
Yeah.
racing games has been like close to me, but
Right.
I do really enjoy a bit of an adrenaline junkie. So when I was younger, I used to
Mm-hmm.
be involved in sport and, like I said, motorcycles and that. So those are
Mm-hmm.
physically demanding activities that can often lead to injury if you're a silly person like myself. And
Right.
I've experienced
Okay.
quite a bit of injuries through my craziness. So
Oh gosh.
getting any kind of action from a
Yeah.
digital experience is probably a little bit healthier for me. So I do
Yeah.
like horror titles, stuff that makes me, get excited and that sort of thing, or RPGs and action related titles. So pretty much like anything like that, like the Last of Us. And
Oh
I
yes.
know we've talked about this before, but that's probably one of my favorite like kind of horror thriller type games recently. And my wife would
Yeah.
walk by the door as I was screaming playing the game, at night with the lights off, and I've just got the little
Yeah.
console, and
The
she's like,
clickers
"What
are
are
like
you
after
doing in
you.
that room?" And I've got the speakers on max, and yeah, I love that title. It's so much fun.
That's it. And also it puts you through the emotional ringer as well, that game too.
Oh,
Not to
absolutely.
spoil anything, but speaking of roller coaster, yeah, for sure. I can see how that appeals as
Yeah, The
well.
Last of Us will make you
Um,
laugh, cry,
yeah,
and scream all
yeah.
within a 7 minute period. Yeah.
It's got everything, yeah. Yeah, wow, that's great. This is going to be an odd question, I feel like, for you, because I think my definition of unwinding is probably different to your definition of unwinding, but what's your favorite thing to do to unwind?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I'm trying to create more opportunities to still get my kicks, but do it in a safe way. So,
Mm-hmm,
a very
mm-hmm,
positive outlet for me from an energy perspective has always been working out. So
mm-hmm,
it's something that going to the gym every day is a part of my routine. I
mm-hmm,
wake up every morning quite early, and I go to the gym for say two
mm-hmm,
hours a day. I do take rest days and that sort of thing. Rest is really important, but
mm-hmm,
working out has kind of been my therapy. So
mm-hmm.
while I work out, I enjoy thinking about different ideas. Like at Electronic Arts, I'm involved quite a bit with AI and skill development
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective. So
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy technology. I understand how, or like understanding how things work and all that.
Mm-hmm.
No math, please, but
Mm-hmm.
like I'll listen to podcasts around technologies coming in, a lot of AI related
Sure.
podcasts and that, exploring new ideas, and doing that while I'm working out is cathartic to me, and it helps me unwind, and it helps me think about ideas and concepts, because you're there for an
Mm-hmm.
extended period of time on a stairmaster, or
Mm-hmm.
lifting heavy stuff. So it gives you an opportunity to
Yeah.
kind of relax and think about things in a
Mm-hmm.
different way, and challenge ideas, and listen to podcasts and all that. So for me, unwinding is
Mm-hmm.
really getting an opportunity to go and explore those things, and working out's kind of been
Mm-hmm.
my escape to go and do that. If I don't get a workout in a day, I feel
Yeah.
like something is missing, and my energy's just not right for the day. So that's for me a place for me to unwind.
It's part of your
Yeah.
routine. Yeah, what a surprise. A podcast talking about structured creativity. A bunch of people who love routine.
Yeah, exactly,
But
right?
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Who knew? But yeah, okay, so this might be slightly related, but how do you touch grass, as the kids say?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
had to think about that when you said it, but something came
Yeah.
to mind around somebody saying how important it is for individuals to like take their shoes and socks off and go and put their feet into grass, and how that's
Oh
like
yeah.
cathartic and therapeutic, and all that. So when I saw this, I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I think I know what she means by that question. How do you touch
Yeah.
grass? And for me, it's through my life experiences and that sort of thing. I've always been a water kid. So growing up,
Mm.
my parents didn't teach me how to swim. I just jumped off the end of the dock. To their excitement or dismay, I went and I learned how to swim. So as a
Right.
kid, I was
Wow.
always a water baby. I'd be that kid on the beach, like with hypothermia, the blue lips and everything. And mom's like, no, I
Oh
think you need to sit down. And I would want to go and run off back into the freezing cold water and swim.
wow.
Growing
Yeah.
growing up in Canada, the waters aren't warm out here, but I was in it. So as a kid, I was always in the water and enjoy that. So for me, growing up, I was a lifeguard. I became a scuba dive instructor as I traveled.
Hmm.
I've learned how to sail. I volunteer with the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue here locally, where I live in
Oh wow.
Vancouver. So
Just dropping that in casually. Yeah.
so
Wow. Yeah.
I really enjoy being on the water, and doing water
Yeah.
activities and that sort of thing. So for me, it's also how I unwind. It's how I touch grass. I touch water. So anything
Yeah.
ocean related is really kind of that space where I get to ground myself and recenter, and really focus on life and the things I enjoy. So for me, it's
Yeah.
that.
I think you would be hit at Develop because it's beachfront, at Brighton.
Nice.
I mean, you could easily go and just if you feel like you want to peace out of any of the conference goings on, you could just jump straight into the
Oh, that's
water.
beautiful. Yeah.
No problem. Yeah.
You won't promise it'll
No
be warm
problem.
though. Isn't the waters out
No,
there?
no. This is the UK we're talking about. No.
Make sure you got a wetsuit.
um, Yeah, exactly. Just like a full, you just be wearing a suit and it'd just be like a wetsuit underneath.
You
Yeah,
never know. I
totally.
might
Yeah,
surprise you.
no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So so I've come up with two questions, and you've picked one of them. So I love asking planners to plan things because it's like really the space that they find really fun. Hypothetical things, of course. So my question to you was: you get to design a theme park
Hmm.
with an unlimited budget. What's the theme? What are the rides and experiences? What does the theme park look like? Tell me about it.
Right. This was a fun idea to explore. So I really appreciate
Okay.
you throwing these in. And you had two options, and one of them was around organizing a party, which I
Mm,
was starting to explore. But then I saw the one below around theme park, and I was like, oh, this is. It'll tie in a lot to like what I was talking about in the discussion around challenging oneself and
uh-huh.
resiliency and being creative and all that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking of, and I've had lots of crazy ideas. Just my wife, I feel bad for her. I have so many crazy ideas, and I try so many different crazy things that our lives are interesting. Yeah. So I've put our
Yeah.
relationship through a lot. I put myself through a lot, and as I
Uh,
mentioned, I was a bit of an adrenaline junkie before. So doing lots of crazy
sure.
physical things has resulted in injuries, and I've had to overcome
Mm.
hardship, all due to my own actions or
Also self-inflicted.
exactly.
Right.
So when I thought of this question around the theme park, I have had an idea in the past around how adversity has taught me personally a lot,
Okay.
and having to heal from accidents and doing silly things has taught me to be a
Sure.
resilient individual and to challenge oneself and what you
Okay.
learn through adversity and that sort of thing. And being someone who's in the learning and development field and has done a lot of facilitation, and what I enjoy about that, I've had like business ideas in the past. I've never pursued them because I don't think they would be successful from a legal standpoint, and I'll explain why. But one
Okay.
of the theme
I'm
park
scared.
ideas that I had was around teaching others to be resilient and teaching others,
Hmm.
drawing out of them skills that they had to bear that they might have not recognized. And one
Sure.
of the theme park ideas was around kind of an executive coaching experience, I guess you would call it. So, me, love of the ocean, I would
Hmm.
dream to have a very nice yacht or sailboat or catamaran or something like that.
Hmm.
And I would very
Hmm.
much enjoy to take executives out on an experience on said yacht or catamaran, but then
Right.
torture test them. So you would put them into situations where maybe somebody gets kidnapped or quote unquote murdered, somebody
Oh.
goes missing. And it's through those
Okay.
emergency type situations where, I don't know, maybe pirates come and you have to like act a scene out, or somebody gets
Yeah.
kidnapped, or somebody disappears or goes overboard. And
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
experience around the theme park would be, okay, now that they've
Yeah.
been through those incidents, how did they respond? How did they react? How did
Okay.
they work as a team? How did they overcome
Right.
adversity? And then there would be reflections on the output of those situations to try to teach them, okay, this is how you can work better as a team. Don't hire Bob into that CEO position because he just left everyone on the boat and took off on the emergency tender and left everyone to burn on the burning boat. So
This is incredible.
it's
I would honestly, this is a reality TV show
right,
waiting to happen.
right. I would have so much fun in these
Oh my
situations.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
that's my theme park. Is it might not be very fun for the folks that are
Wow.
going. I don't know if people would sign up for that. And on the output, legal ramifications of putting people through those kinds of situations, I don't know how many times you would end up being sued, or how things could legally go positively for you in that kind of business venture. So hence why I'm not
Yeah.
pursuing that. But
We'll see. Yeah, I'm just so tickled by the idea of it being like in fine print in the contract, and it can happen at any time during the year. You never know when it'll
exactly.
happen. So people would think they're going out for an offsite,
Right?
and then
That's the whole
they just get
idea.
left.
I mean,
Wow,
you think of the
incredible.
allure of that. It's like, oh, is it some
Yeah,
executives are going to go off to Costa Rica
yeah.
on a catamaran for
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks to do team building.
Yeah.
They start to paint their own picture of what that's going to look like. Little did they know
Mm-hmm.
their executive admin has signed off and paid the invoice and signed all the legal documentation for them to go and be
Yeah.
torture tested out on the water. That'd be
Oh
so
my
much fun.
God. Yeah. That would be amazing. And then the whole thing is filmed for all of those subordinates to watch as
There you
well.
go.
Back,
TV
yay!
series, social media
Yeah, it's
campaign.
resilient
See,
building. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Legal
You know,
ramifications aside, there's a lot of fun to have with this idea.
it's an idea. We put it out there. Maybe we can manifest it. I don't know. But yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so who are the VIPs you're inviting
Oh, I see.
to
There's an
open the theme
additional
park or
question. This came
participate?
in later.
Yeah.
Okay. So who are the VIPs?
Well, anyway, yeah, well, to open the theme park, or maybe to watch as well, all these happenings, not necessarily be one of the participants.
Yeah.
So
So
who would you
have you
say?
ever heard the name David Goggins?
David? Yeah,
Yeah. Who's going to
yeah,
carry the boats? Like he's a
right.
ultra marathon runner,
Yes. Okay.
ex-military kind of individual, and he is an inspirational kind of speaker type individual.
Yeah.
He's crazy. He
Yeah.
goes nuts from a physical performance standpoint, and he's his whole shtick is around you're so much more capable than you would ever give yourself credit for. So it's
Right.
pushing oneself far beyond a level of what you think you're capable of. So
So very aligned with this experience for sure.
exactly. So I think he would
Yeah.
be one of the VIPs I would be inviting to try to open said theme park or idea.
Would he be? Would he be one of the torturers, or just like the guy, just like with the big scissors opening the park? I'm sure he would
Well, yeah, he would.
totally take part.
He would. I mean, you would have to kind of, if you knew it was David Goggins, you kind of know you're
Yeah,
into something, so it would
that's
kind of
true.
people put people off. But maybe he comes in after and tries to help people understand that they're capable of so much more than they thought they were. So that scary situation that you were just put through, you can make it through that. But
Gosh, yeah.
David Goggins is very much about basically torturing yourself to understand that you can do something more. So he's the
Mm-hmm.
guy on YouTube that's been running for 48 hours straight, and then he's telling you motivational quotes to be like, if I'm here,
Oh my
you can
god.
be here, and there's nothing special about me, and you can do that. One of his famous quotes is, "Who's going to carry the boats?" Meaning like when shit hits the fan, who's going to be
Yeah.
there
His,
to do it. So you
yeah.
give yourself credit for you are capable of carrying the boats type thing.
I could totally see that happening. Well, I mean, him maybe like being one of the people that has like a balaclava on, he rips it off, and he's just like, "I'm here to help."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, go watch his
I
videos.
mean,
Like he's got some cool
oh
stuff
my
out there,
god.
and it's inspirational. So if you're dragging your feet going to the gym, and you watch that guy, and you'll be in the gym in no time.
Damn, I think I will. Yeah, what a great shout.
Yeah,
Well, sadly, this brings us to the end of our little
it's been
session and
fun.
our discussion. It's been really fun. I feel like we could have gone on for easily another couple of hours, but I shall let you go because you're a very busy person. So before we go, where can people find you?
Simply LinkedIn. So I have a unique last name. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I'm the only person with that last name, but I pop up easily on LinkedIn. So if anyone's
Mm-hmm.
interested in connecting with me, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I love exploring ideas. I love having discussions with individuals from different backgrounds and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy mentoring and that sort of thing. So if someone is looking to have a discussion or anything like that, just reach out on LinkedIn and we can set up a call. We can chat. You can ask questions. I want to learn from you as well. Different ideas and people thinking different things. So
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn's a place that people can connect with me on, and I always enjoy those relationships. That's how you and I met, Naj. So I
Yes.
thank you for reaching
Yes.
out to me, over a year ago, because I've learned a lot from you, and I've really enjoyed watching you and your career pursuits and all the achievements that you've had.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it's been really rewarding to get to know you and all that. So for anyone who wants to connect, I'm on LinkedIn.
The feeling is absolutely mutual. It's been a wonderful friendship, and I hope, yes, for those of you watching and think Jace is pretty cool, yeah, take advantage of this opportunity. Reach out to him on LinkedIn. I
Absolutely.
can definitely attest to the depth of our conversations that we've had. And is there anything you'd like to promote? And this doesn't need to be a thing you plug, but even a concept as well. Anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I think I go back to what we've been talking about today. Always be challenging
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Always be, putting yourself into that edge of discomfort and learning,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to push forward. That's how, we have, as society, been able to achieve so many exciting things, and where we're headed. I didn't talk much about
Mm-hmm.
AI and that sort of thing during this conversation, but we are on the precipice of, a new technology coming in that is going to change society dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Just think back
Mm-hmm.
to pre-internet, post-internet,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and where we were as a society and where we are today,
Mm-hmm.
is so much different. I truly believe AI is going to be that 10x. We are going to see such a transformation from societal standpoint, and
Mm-hmm.
we are all going to have to challenge ourselves to think about things differently and to try new
Mm-hmm.
things and to put ourselves into what might feel to be uncomfortable situations to be able to learn and grow. So, if
Mm-hmm.
there's anything for me to promote, it's to continuously be challenging yourself, to think about
Mm-hmm.
things in an optimistic and positive way, and to build resiliency and to learn from failure in that. So it just kind of echoes all the things that we've talked about today.
Yeah, 100%. I think I will also add on to that. There's uh, such a wonderful kind of thing around approaching people with, goodwill as the default. I think that's also very much part of challenging yourself that, hey, I might not agree with what this person, where this person has to say about a particular thing, but it's always worth it to hear different perspectives because that's part of challenging yourself and, learning something new every day as well. So yeah, totally, totally. All right, well, I'm going to say goodbye to you, Jason. Thank you so much for joining me on Structured Creativity, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Naj.